Ah, yes. Good ol' Herbie Fully Loaded. My absolute favorite movie growing up, and arguably the most important movie in the world to me growing up. But once I got older, there's something I realized. A lot, and I mean a lot of people really hate it. Even diehard Herbie fans. And granted, not every single person that has disdain for this movie was a Herbie fan, and I know for sure there are Herbie fans who also really enjoy this movie. Not unlike yours truly. But for the most part, I want to focus on the fans who hated it. And I'm basically going to be dividing this into 3 different sections. I'm going to be discussing the release of the movie, the plot of the movie, the repercussion of the movie, and, if you would probably like it. And you're honestly probably thinking right now, good golly, if even a huge amount of fans hate it, it must be pretty darn bad. And is it? Well, let's find out. I think you know what time it is. Janky intro time! Shortly after the most recent Herbie movie came out, which was a made-for-TV movie, which may I add is definitely not a remake, good golly, there were rumors that Herbie was going to return to the big screen soon instead of the small screen. And I think it was around 2003 or 4 when these rumors were confirmed. And of course, Herbie fans were absolutely bouncing off the walls that their childhood hero was making a comeback. And then the trailer came out.
There is a legend with mysterious powers and a magical past. And when a family's in trouble,
I'm totally fine.
I guess that means he's not totally fine.
the one person who needs him most
I didn't know that you took out another mortgage on the house.
is about to unlock his secret.
Please take care of Herbie. Whatever your problem, he'll help you find the answer. Great fortune cookie on wheels.
On June 24th,
What's going on?
Herbie's magic will be unleashed on the world.
Let's get more horsepower than I expected.
He's stronger,
I'm gonna wipe that bug off my windshield!
That's harsh.
he's faster,
Let's race.
Come on, Herbie. Wow.
he's Herbier.
Come, my lady, come, my lady, you're my butterfly.
Herbie. She's too young for you.
And it's all good under the hood.
This car just winked at me. You feeling okay?
From Walt Disney Pictures to save her family,
You're not getting behind the wheel of that car.
Dad, I'm a Peyton. Racing is in my blood.
2 unlikely partners
Ready to do this thing?
are gonna make the whole world believe. Lindsay Lohan,
It's like we're connected or something.
Herbie is a car.
with Matt Dillon
Let's see what makes you tick. Who's laughing now? There's nothing ordinary about this bug.
and Michael Keaton.
Why, Maggie, I want you to guess.
And introducing the tricked out, ramped up, and all new Herbie.
That car is alive! It's mocking me! Look! It's doing it again!
Herbie, fully loaded.
And understandably, a lot of Herbie fans were pretty ticked. And honestly, just moviegoers in general thought it was going to be an absolutely horrible movie because the trailer, it just looked really awkward. In fact, some fans just avoided the movie altogether just because of the trailer alone. And honestly, I do not blame them at all. If I saw a really weird or dumb trailer, I wouldn't want to watch the movie either. Anyway, another reason why people were upset is that Herbie's driver was Lindsay Lohan. Alright, so if you're gonna go off on some kind of thing, well, people were so mean because, Herbie's driver was a girl and Herbie's main driver was never a girl. No. Just no. We're not going on some kind of thing like that. And also, that's not true. We're not going on some kind of thing like that. I think we all know people weren't upset because Lindsay Lohan was a girl. I think people were upset because of her behavior, her actions, and the actions of her parents as well. But hey, at least she didn't talk a bunch of crap about the original. People were also pretty upset because Herbie seemed a lot more like a robot than, a living car. And, I think throughout the Herbie movies, it was pretty disclosed that Herbie was not a robot and just, a living car, a car with feelings, all that jazz. Because, yeah, what am I talking about? So, on June 22nd, at least I'm pretty sure that was the wide release date, 2005, and yes, it has almost been 20 years, Herbie Fully Loaded finally hit theaters and got extremely mixed feedback. Some people really loved the movie while some people really, really hated it. Like, for example, if a theater was showing Herbie Fully Loaded was fully loaded, get it, I'd believe half the people in there loved it and half hated it by the time the movie was over. But why? Why? Well, I think the first thing we need to do is look into the plot. So that's what I'm going to be discussing next. And if you don't want spoilers for the movie or you haven't seen it yet, I recommend skipping until the timestamp or whatever timestamp I put up here. Alright, so here's what the movie's about. Herbie, a famous race car, started losing a ton of races and winds up in a junkyard. Meanwhile, Maggie Payton, who is played by Lindsay Lohan, just graduated from college and is about to take a job in New York for a ESPN producer. However, it's revealed not long afterward that her true passion is racing, which happens to be the family business as well. But she's not allowed to participate in it, and her brother is, which seems pretty fair, right? Anyway, as a graduation present, Maggie's dad takes her to a junkyard to get her a beater car, even though his son gets to have race cars. What a nice dad. Anyway, while Maggie's playing around in a Dodge pretending she's a race car driver, Herbie notices and decides he wants Maggie to be his new owner. But when he tries to get closer, he kind of just flops on the ground because he's missing his back wheels due to a previous escape attempt. Whoops. Anyway, Maggie sees a Nissan she's interested in and asks to buy it. However, Herbie is dropped from a crane, totaling the Nissan, and so Maggie decides to buy Herbie instead. And it doesn't take her very long to realize Herbie's a little bit different. Anyway, Herbie ends up reuniting Maggie with her high school best friend, aka boyfriend, and they go on a test drive to see if her friend can restore Herbie or something. But in my opinion, I don't think Herbie really needs much done other than just like some cleaning up and an oil change. During this time, Herbie kind of forced Maggie to participate in a race that has a fire song playing, which her and Herbie win. So apparently the guy Maggie and Herbie defeated is an absolute nut job and wants to unalive Herbie for basically no reason, and he sets up, some kind of race where a bunch of people are gonna come and race each other, and whoever's like the final winner gets to race against Trip, and if you win you get like $10,000. Wow. Fun, right? So then my favorite part of the movie happens, also known as the magic scene because the song that plays there is called Magic. They restore Herbie and add a few things I actually don't think would better his performance, and they end up going to the race that the bad guy set up. Turns out Herbie and Maggie beat everyone else and will be competing against Trip Murphy, who is the bad guy, the next day, in a winner-take-all. I mean, are we all so surprised? But the bad guy makes a shady deal with Maggie, saying that if she wins, she gets to have his race car, but if he wins, he gets to have Herbie. Herbie sees this whole conversation and is acting pretty upset the next day because she was willing to gamble him. Kevin tells Maggie that Herbie was upset and that she should talk to him about it. Can we get some W's for Kevin, please? So Maggie asks Herbie what's wrong, which Herbie calms down a bit to, and then in 3 seconds, basically Maggie says she doesn't give a crap. So she seems really nice, right? And of course, this just makes Herbie more upset. But Herbie still participates in the race, and actually he's in the lead. But then Maggie says, "Come on, Herbie, I want that stock car." And this was the absolute last straw for Herbie, so he slams on his brakes, purposefully losing the race. Maggie is absolutely furious with Herbie, even going so far to call him a stupid car and that he was supposed to help her or something. And she even throws down her helmet. And her dad was also conveniently present for this, and realized his daughter was racing when she wasn't supposed to, and is also super mad at her for doing so. Kevin walks up to Maggie telling her, "Hey, it's gonna be okay, there's always another race, you just had a bad day." And then he sees Herbie being hooked up to the tow truck, and he tells the people who are hooking him up to get away from him. But Trip explains to Kevin the bet him and Maggie made. Then Kevin is like, "Please tell me you didn't really do that." Maggie then apologizes to Kevin with a half-genuine apology, to which he responds that she should apologize to Herbie since he's the one she stabbed in the back. So Herbie's taken away to be essentially beaten to death in a demolition derby. Sounds fun, right? Also, this movie's rated G. Anyway, long story short, Herbie is rescued by Maggie, but he's badly damaged or injured or however you want to phrase it. He's then restored for the second or third time in this movie into a NASCAR and races in a NASCAR race for Maggie to replace her brother who was supposed to be competing in it, and they win. So yeah, that's basically the movie. But why do so many people think it sucks? Because maybe it's just me, but I thought this was a decent plot. So, now we're talking about basically the repercussions of the movie. I think there are a lot of contributing factors, but they all lead to this conclusion. It wasn't made for the fans, which definitely isn't what the fans wanted, and it's probably not what they expected. Because when you think about it, every single Herbie movie is made for the fans other than the first one. But I just feel like Herbie Fully Loaded was made specifically to appeal to the more modern generation at the time, rather than the older one. And as much as people might despise me for saying this, I think that was the right call. Because on the bright side, a whole new generation was actually introduced to Herbie, and a lot of the newer generation actually really loved him. I certainly did, and still do. And despite its controversies with fans and critics alike, it still did pretty good at the box office. And at the end of the day, to movie companies, especially Disney, that's all that really matters. And of course, it's totally fine if you don't like a movie. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that. Everyone's allowed to have their own opinion. What's not fine is how some fans reacted to this movie. Alright, so say your favorite movie, your favorite Herbie movie is The Love Bug from 1997, which I'll be referring to as the 97 to avoid confusion from the first movie, or Herbie the Love Bug, the TV series, or Herbie the Matchmaker. Now, the 97 is my least favorite Herbie movie, and I don't really like it, but if you were to tell me it was your favorite one, I'd probably be like, oh, that's cool. I personally prefer to watch Herbie Goes to Monte Carlo, but if you like the 97, that's totally cool. But for some reason, some fans had an absolutely ridiculous response to people saying they liked Herbie Fully Loaded. For example, more often than not, I have seen people, and this is just online for the most part, shaming other Herbie fans just because they like Herbie Fully Loaded, which is completely inappropriate. Once again, disliking a movie is totally fine, we're all allowed to have opinions, but saying someone isn't a true Herbie fan or is a horrible person simply because they liked a movie you didn't is completely unacceptable. Especially if there's not even anything blatantly wrong with a movie. The craziest story I have heard about a Herbie Fully Loaded hater, though, was about a Herbie owner in the UK, an original Herbie owner, actually, who would constantly talk trash about Herbie Fully Loaded if someone even mentioned it, and even rip down any poster he saw of it back when it released. And, bro, that's a flippin' Thorndike move. I'm not really sure how the legal system works in the UK, but in America, this behavior is known as destructive vandalism, and you can be fined or even arrested for it. But here's the craziest part. He just seemed proud of it. He put this in a news article as an adult, like a grown adult. He's probably around Herbie's age, 60, as if it is okay. It didn't seem like he learned any consequences from this. And if you're watching this, by the way, if you're the guy who did this, look, I don't hate you or anything. I just think this behavior, to me personally, was inappropriate. And I don't think destructive behavior is ever okay, especially if it's just because you didn't like a movie. Although I wouldn't be worried about telling a Herbie fan you like Herbie Fully Loaded. Sure, a lot of fans didn't like it, but most of the time, Herbie fans will be pretty chill. This is only what I've seen online and on YouTube, but usually people are pretty calm about that. And the most they'll probably say is, oh, I didn't like that one as much. It's just that one guy that seemed to be really, really toxic. Sorry, I went a little bit off topic here. Okay, so as a movie fan who is making a video about a movie, I feel like you should be able to give an unbiased opinion on the movie, regardless if you liked it or not. So, do I myself think Herbie Fully Loaded is a horrible movie like a lot of people say it is? No, I do not. No, I don't think everyone would like it, but it definitely holds up as a good kids movie. I don't know if most people over 13 would like it as much, because, it does seem more like a kids movie. It's not horribly kiddie, just, more on that side. But if you're a parent and you thinking about showing this to your kids, is there anything, weird or not kid-friendly, any bad words or anything like that? These are just a few things I'd like to mention. The main character, Maggie Payton, says, oh my god, quite a few times throughout the film, and I realize not everyone has a problem with this, it's just something I thought I'd mention. There's also one scene where Maggie tries to change clothes in the back of Herbie, and Kevin tries to peek at her using Herbie's mirror. Of course, Herbie doesn't let him, and there's no nudity shown. Just know this scene is there. There's also another scene in the movie where Herbie seems to be admiring a new beetle, and I just feel like this scene gets more and more weird and awkward the older I get. And the last thing I can think about is Herbie getting beaten up in the demolition derby, which I'd never found very disturbing as a little kid, but I definitely think more sensitive kids could be scared by this. Honestly, the only things I think your kids would remotely care about, I'm not a parent, but this is just what I think, is Maggie Payton saying OMG and Herbie getting beaten up. I think the two other things kids aren't really going to care about. I certainly didn't care about them until I was like 12 years old. So, in conclusion, why did fans hate Herbie Fully Loaded? Because it wasn't really made for them. And would you like this movie? If I'm being totally honest, because of how controversial it was, I'd just say go rent it or go on Disney Plus and watch it yourself. Because I can really only speak for myself when it comes to this movie, because it just depends on so many things. Also, if you've made it to the end of this video, thank you so much for listening to me ramble about a childhood movie. And if you had any questions about Herbie Fully Loaded, I hope this video answers most, if not all of them. In fact, I'm actually planning to make a part 2 / follow-up video where I go into a little more detail about, you know, the main reasons people didn't like Herbie Fully Loaded. There were a lot of reasons that led it to being not made for the fans, but there's some specific things that I'd like to be talking about in hopefully the next video. Alright, it's been real. See you next time, y'all skis.